let's take a look at the 5 coaches who could be coaching for their job in the upcoming NHL season. Every year, the coaching carousel turns in the National Hockey League. And this year, there are 5 that I think could potentially find their way knocked off of that ride. Here are the 5 coaches on the hot seat for the upcoming NHL season. At number 5, starting out with the hottest take of this one, I have Rod Brind'Amour. Now, I want to say, Carolina has had a lot of great success. And Rod Brind'Amour is a very big reason for that. But they have stalled out at the exact same spot multiple years in a row. And it feels like they're getting further and further away every single year from those real upper echelon teams in the NHL. And so this isn't a coaches that need to be fired segment. This is really, it's coaches under the most pressure, but coaches on the hot seat. If Carolina has any form of a speed wobble, I would say before the conference finals, I would not be surprised if Carolina was like, okay, that's it. We have to make a change here. Because this roster has been really good for a while. Offensively, defensively, the goaltending's a bit of a meh, right? Like Freddie Anderson, your mileage may vary, but for the most part, this is a really, really high-level roster that has felt like it has underachieved for the, honestly, better part of like half a decade now, right? Like 5 to 10 years, it feels like. The 10 years part is over-exaggerating, I know. But I still feel like Brind'Amour is an excellent coach. He is a culture setter. He is a tone setter. He is someone who you want running your team. But if you keep having the same problem every single year, then at some point you have to make a change. And I think this year it's going to be very interesting to see with a player like a Nikolai Ehlers, do you open it up offensively a little bit more to allow your team to be a bit more dangerous instead of just the trap defense, lock it down team that they have been. So Brind'Amour, the reason that he is on this list is just because it feels like the bar that he has to clear feels the highest of all of the guys on here. Like a few of these are show improvement, make playoffs, whatever. He kind of feels like if they get bounced in 5 in the second round, then we're probably seeing the CJ tweet that Brind'Amour has been let go by the Carolina Hurricanes. So he feels like he has the furthest that he has to go to keep that job title for the upcoming season. So he's at number 5. At number 4 is Andrew Brunette. Last year was the year from hell with Nashville. No one was putting it on the coach, but multiple seasons like that don't tend to be benefited to the same coach, right? So if it is another atrocious season in Nashville, I would suggest that among several other changes, head coach would probably be one of the ones. And look, I think Brunette's a good coach. Again, I think like Brind'Amour's a good coach. I think Brunette's a really solid coach. I think that the big moves that they made didn't really work. It is now on him to make sure he can make everything mesh for this season. So they need to have a good start, I think, for Brunette to be able to hang around. In the chat, Tall John, back on the Carolina thing. Anything less than a cup final is a disappointment for the chance for the Canes. For the chances he has had with that Carolina team. I would agree. Like, they need to at least be playing for a Stanley Cup this year. And that's tough when you have the 2-time defending champions out there. But you look at, like, I think they're a good team, Carolina. But you look at the division they've been able to play in for a long time. It has not been close to, ask Leaf fans, it has not been close to as competitive as the top of the Atlantic that has had Florida, it has had Boston, Tampa Bay, and begrudgingly we will put Toronto in there. When you look at what has been going on in the division with Carolina for the last few years, where the Rangers have fallen off and been a little inconsistent. Washington has found another gear, but they haven't been really playoff dynamos. The Devils are waiting to take a step forward. Like, there hasn't been that real challenge to the throne. So yes, Carolina didn't win the division in the regular season last year, but it wasn't a challenging trek through the postseason, and then they came up against a real challenge, and they faltered. So you could, like, people made the case that Tom Brady's greatness was only because he got to play in that division. So you can easily make the case that they have been able to get not a free ride, but a bit of an easier ride into the conference finals than their Atlantic neighbors the last few years, and they haven't been able to do a thing with it. So I would agree. Anything less than a Stanley Cup at this point feels like a disappointment, given the cap space they still have, given the roster they have, and the moves that they made, bringing in Nikolai Ehlers and Stankoven, another year of development. It feels like a gigantic year in Carolina, I will say that. Number 3 on the list is John Hynes out in Minnesota. There's a lot of pressure on the Wild this year, and with Kaprizov's contract, apparently he's turning down mucho dinero with Minnesota. So there is a lot of pressure on the Wild. If there's any sort of a wibbly wobble out there this year, that feels like it could be a desperation move to try to make the kid happy. And again, I think Hynes is a fine coach, but I think that team's a problem, and that's going to be a tough one to navigate as a coach because of the distraction that now feels like it is at play with the Kaprizov contract all season long. Because it's not like you're signing another one of him in free agency. And I think already the pressure kind of starts because everyone had Brock Besser going there, right? And so when he signs with Vancouver basically as soon as the puck drops on free agency, I think all of a sudden the heat got really turned up on Minnesota. We have a couple left on the coaches on the hot seat as we get ready for the start of the NHL season. But a reminder that we are streaming these live on multiple different platforms, and the next live stream is going to be Tuesday at 10 a.m. We'll be taping the Tuesday and Wednesday podcast on that day, and then hopefully a video game stream, in the afternoon. Number 2 on the coaches on the hot seat list, it is Lindy Ruff. Yes, only back for a year, but it is beyond unacceptable, in Buffalo, what has happened right now. So they have to make some kind of progress this year, or else it's just not happening for them. It has to take a step forward, and Lindy Ruff is the one at the center of that. You have a team that has focused on defense when drafting for a long time. Now, offensive defensemen, but still, and they gave up some of the most goals in the league last year. And goal scoring, I mean, I feel like they still need some pieces, and I don't think coaching has been the issue in Buffalo this whole time, but he has a bit of an antiquated way of looking at things. And the style that he is supposed to play, they were bad at a season ago. There needs to be some improvement in Buffalo this year, or else it is a full house cleaning again with the Pagulas and the Buffalo Sabres. So Lindy Ruff is number 2 on my list. And at number 1, it is Jim Hiller. Now, maybe there is some recency bias in here, but when you look at how the playoffs went last year, Hiller, I believe, coached his team out of the playoffs with bad challenges, bad lineup management, and just a bad overall strategy in how they attacked some of those games, allowing the Oilers to come back in games and come back in that series. I don't think he's been blessed with the best roster for this upcoming season, but the guys who made that roster are the ones making that decision. There's already been big changes in LA. Jim Hiller didn't exactly, like we said, just shower himself in glory in the playoffs last year. He needs to show that he can be the guy to get this team across the finish line in the Pacific Division, even just into the second round, or else there's going to be a new man at the helm with Los Angeles for this upcoming season. So those are the 5 coaches that I have on the hot seat for this upcoming NHL season. What do you think? Keep the chats coming. Some good stuff in there from Tall John on the Carolina Hurricanes. I would agree, Connor D, like we didn't do general managers here. Steve Yzerman's on the hot seat. There is no question in my mind. He is on the hot seat, and that needs to be a playoff team this year. They've been so close for the last couple of years, but when you see Montreal has passed them, when you see Ottawa has passed them, the time is now for this Detroit team to take that step. And the problem, like, they've drafted really well, right? Like, Seider's awesome. And they have a lot of pieces on offense that you like, but the things that he's supposed to be able to do and be effective at, that he was able to do in Tampa Bay and get that depth and get that organizational depth, he hasn't been able to do. It was the depth forwards in Detroit that kept him out of the playoffs last year. I like the signing of Appleton, but aside from that, they haven't really done a lot to address it. It's just a lot of the same guys, quite overpriced when you look at Comfer and Kopp making around $5 million. they need those guys to step up, and it's looking worse and worse on Stevie Y as the years go on. So I absolutely agree that he is a general manager on the hot seat. But what else? Let me know in the chat, and if you're watching this after, let me know in the comments down below.